are certain topics in this world which are difficult to discuss or even bring up in public, like my undying love of Animorphs, which I totally don't have. Never. Anyway. Language invented a cool tool to deal with these kind of situations. The metaphor. A device familiar to any fan of House, oh, hey, exposition time. It's been a while. Look, I fired you last year. What are you doing here? Okay, you can temp for today. Yeah, glad you're happy. Now where was I? Oh yes, metaphor is used one situation to help explain another. For instance, my use of exposition time here is like when the show House MD brought back Dr. Cameron for one episode so she could divorce her husband. We all knew we'd never see her again, and ultimately, it was forgettable. Thanks for helping illustrate that, E.T. The door's that way. Many films use this device to tell their story, placing a real situation in a similar but fictitious environment. Great films do this while adding a tweak to help ramp up the tension. With that specific comment, let's talk about In Time. Released in 2011, this science fiction film takes place in an alternate future, where people live with a literal clock on their lives. Everyone ages to 25, then stops growing older. Beyond that, they are given 1 year to live. That time is also the world currency, and when you run out of time, even for a second, you die. Some people live with only hours to spare, others have all the time in the world. So yes, this is a movie about the 1%, but it amps up the drama with that poor equals immediate death angle. It's a cool concept, but does the metaphor play out well, or is it too much of a stretch? Well, let's stop wasting time and find out. Meet Will Salas, played by a former member of NSYNC. He spends his days working for his next day, like most people in the poor district do. This society has a Hunger Games-esque split, and once again, people in District 12 are in the worst living conditions. Still, it's better than dealing with the neighbors in District 9. The powers that be isolate them from the rest of society with time toll booths between the districts, making sure the wealthy don't see any people with poor time management skills. Oh, that reminds me. If you like time puns, this is your movie.
I put in some overtime.
Where'd it go?
You got a minute?
I assume my time is as good as anyone's. Minutemen. You must come from time.
Seriously, they never stop.
It's
Kind of amazing. Will takes a stance against ruffians looking to steal from someone with a vast amount of time on their hands, and after saving the rich man's hide, Will finds himself getting dosed with a century of borrowed time. Mind you, that's enough to buy a city block in his hometown. With his new lease on life, Will travels through the various sectors to get to the heart of this film. Sylvia, daughter of Uncle Pennybags. She's a great counterpoint to Will's last-minute lifestyle, since she comes from a family with literally 1,000,000 years to spare. That's a hell of a savings account. Through a series of plausible and exciting events, Will and Sylvia see eye to eye about the desperate state the lower part of society is in and agree to start stealing time from the rich. They redistribute it to those in dire need of a few months more to live. Throughout all of this, though, the revolution is threatened by a somewhat familiar force. Similar to our money, people in this film have their own version of the IRS they have to worry about. The timekeepers. These officers exist solely to make sure no outrageous amounts of time go to people who shouldn't have it. That's a pretty vague enforcement system. They chase after Will, with one in particular heading up the manhunt with vigor and reckless abandon. That's strange behavior, because everyone in a position of power or with ample time is horribly afraid of dying from an accident. This guy's really an odd duck. He's only strange until you figure out he's originally from the poor district, where this kind of fast-moving, reckless behavior is quite common. So yes, he's a well-respected officer that escaped the inner-city struggle he now maintains. The film gives us insight as to why this is, and as always, I have the perfect person in mind to help dissect this character's MO. DM?
The last time, Bacchus, you don't know what his generation is.
How can I not know that? It's on his character sheet!
No, it's not.
Then how do I know who to diablerize? I want to become a Maleficent!
Go to your corner.
Oh. Hey, I'm gonna poll you about an outlier.
You want to do what, where?
Huh?
Never mind, you and your dirty mind. What are we talking about?
The timekeeper from In Time.
Ah, yes! The enforcer stereotype. It's a classic, really. A product of his time, the keeper maintains time continuity above all other matters, even law. He's not a police officer, just the arbiter of time distribution. A very important role to play. For example, say I give each of you 500 experience.
That would be awesome, yo.
Yes, you shower me with praise and adoration. But what do you do with that experience? You break my campaign.
Awesome, yo.
Don't play coy. Everybody does it. If everyone had unlimited resources for their own use, the results would be disastrous for social order. I mean, suddenly having 4 people become gods is bad enough. Imagine if an entire neighborhood did that overnight. And that's why the timekeeper has to be on top of everyone's time transactions.
You're saying that structural functionalism is okay?
I'm actually saying the exact opposite of that. Well, actually, no, I'm not, because I don't know what that means.
It's a theoretical principle that states that every social role exists for a reason, and that trying to rearrange that would upset the balance and destroy everything.
Well, I still have no idea what you're talking about. To an extent, yes, but there are exceptions.
Like the timekeeper himself being from the poor district.
Exactly. He can't have anyone else going up there in their short pants to upset the balance. As someone that got out of the worst living conditions, this keeper knows firsthand what kind of a hellhole it is there. But he also believes the social doctrine wholeheartedly, knowing that just handing out time to people isn't going to solve any big picture problems. It's just going to create new ones.
So he's not blindly adhering, he's actively accepting the fact that people need to arbitrarily die every day for society to work.
Life sucks. Get a helmet.
That's very dire, DM.
Would you rather he throw his responsibilities out the window and give the people the means to have a social uprising?
Yes! If the timekeeper had gone rogue and aided Will in his quest for social vengeance, he would have provided a much more expedient route for Will to achieve his goal.
Yeah, but at what cost?
The cost of everyone at the bottom being able to live comfortable lives.
Living forever? In comfort? Are you mad? The immortality angle ruins any long-term plan that includes everyone living. People in the system have to leech off one another to sustain their own body's longevity, because no one manufactures time. Just steals it from another person. Social decay is really inevitable. The best ones will always suck the lesser ones dry. Not sure where I got that idea from, though. But really, it's the catch-22 of immortality.
I see where you're coming from. Thanks for the input, DM.
Anytime!
Can't I just suck a thin blood dry? That wouldn't hurt anyone.
You know, Bacchus, just for that, every time you ask me a stupid question, I'm going to deduct 1 experience from you.
What?
If you lose all your experience, your character dies. Questions?
Why would you do this to me?
Lose 1 experience.
The immortality has another angle that's hard to get around. When natural cause is removed as a way to die, what's the point of having children? What's even more complicated is that their window to give birth is infinite, since 25 is a pretty good time to have kids. So while living forever sounds great, they carried over the worst possible trait to make this an achievable goal. Making more humans just spreads the timeshare thinner. Unless you start stealing time aggressively from another population. The ghetto district is a society's radical approach to try and do just that. See, if there were no way to make more time and no new people were born, everyone in that last generation would die within a couple hundred years. However, with this constant adding subtracting at the bottom of the caste system, the amount of time the top collects can be nigh infinite. The people that designed this radical biological change could have engineered a social restructure to go with it, but instead chose to feed their greed. This really is a good mirror. Wealth and resources tend to be concentrated in small areas in reality, and relatively few organizations exist to try to redistribute that to those without enough to maintain ends meet. But the problem with that is the system has been in place so long it's ingrained in everyone's mind as just the way the world works. So yeah, this movie is an awesome metaphor. While very functionalist in the approach it takes, In Time does a great job of making its points without feeling forced or heavy-handed. The main characters have realistic drives and grow into a force that rises up against the power structures of the world, giving the audience hope that a couple people can upend oppression on a grand scale. That message isn't the only thing it has going for it either. It has talented actors doing a great job with a thought-provoking script, car chases, dramatic interrogations, and Departed-style headshots. What more could you ask for? Besides more time. I'm the other Socio, and I'm out of it. No outrageous time goes to people who, quote-unquote, shouldn't have it. I just did quote-unquote, followed by quoting, quote-unquote. Ah!